Before we dive in, just do me a quick favour. Please give me either a thumbs up or a thumbs down as to whether you like working from home. All will become revealed once we dive in. So with that, let's crack on with the video. You start the day with a cup of coffee, sipping it gently as you walk from the kitchen through to your home office. You turn on the computer and immediately see the email notification pop up. Uh-oh, you think? With slight intrepidation, you open the email only to read that the project you are leading has gone wrong. The team have been working super hard for weeks and crunch time is coming. Your people are dotted around the world in different time zones, based in different locations, and all working different schedules. This is the reality. Now, the company you work for has embraced the remote and hybrid working, certainly for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately though, today is not the day it all works. And only after being in the role for 6 weeks, this being your first leadership position, it is all down to you. It is intimidating. You are all on your own. So with a big gulp of caffeine, you pick up the phone and call your project lead to find out what the dickens is going on. Any of this sound familiar? Not in terms of projects going wrong, although I'm sure you can identify with those, but if it does, it means you're working in the post-pandemic world and embracing change. But what happens in this example if you've never led a hybrid team before? Well, fortunately, that's why I made this video, because by the end of the video, you will have my 9 tips to leading a hybrid team like an absolute rock star. So rather than waffle on about who are good famous leaders and how they've embraced working from home, why don't we just dive straight in? And let's talk about the tangible actions you can implement straight away, well, at the end of the video, of course, and then you can lead a team excellently. So for the leader who has never managed a hybrid team before, consider these 9 tips to leading teams for the first time like an absolute rock star. Number 1, it's expectations, isn't it? It may sound obvious, but make sure you indicate your expectations to the team from the off. It's far too easy to presume or just forget, but when working in a hybrid manner, having clear expectations are critical for success. This is not about keeping tabs, no. It's about setting out what you expect from the team. Do you want the team to notify you when they are leaving for the day? Or will this set the wrong tone? Remember, what we want to avoid is the same pitfalls that we had in the office. Think presenteeism. Just because someone was at the office for all hours of every day doesn't mean they were actually being productive. Now, this will all depend on each team and the industry you work in, but setting out the clear objectives and expectations means everyone knows what they are working towards. Doing this is just going to set the tone early for the team. Just remember that nothing is set in stone. And this leads me on quite nicely to number 2. Now, number 2 is stay flexy. I mean, that's a bit funky, isn't it? Be flexible. I've been proclaiming for a long time, much to the chagrin of my friends who think I'm a bit like a broken record, but the 9 to 5 day is slowly dying. The power balance is being reset and the emphasis is being moved from a time-based one, i.e. being seen in the office, to an out-based one, which is all about deliverables. In turn, this has allowed workers to move to a working schedule that allows them to be most productive, and that suits their daily need. Now, what it's worth bearing in mind here is that when you want to speak to someone and you see the yellow button showing on the laptop, indicating where they are, the person might be seen as away. You can no longer think, they've been away for the last hour. I wonder where they are. I mean, it's a natural reaction and one that lends itself to the old way of thinking. But times have changed. If that person was out for 90 minutes in the morning, going to the pharmacy to pick up critical medicine for their ill father, then it is up to them to make it up in the evening. Or more accurately, make sure that the output is still delivered on time. So as a leader, you need to be more flexible when your team takes a more extended coffee break, but picks up the work a bit later. Now, number 3 is about being ruthless with meetings. There's no doubt that the video call has lost its novelty factor. So when you are booking meetings, please bear in mind the length of the meeting you are scheduling. Is 60 minutes right? Or can you do it in 45 minutes? The extra 15 minutes might not feel like much, but when you are sat in the same seat for 6 hours straight, the thought of another Teams call is enough to push you just over the edge. I mean, this is actually backed up by research showing that many employees are experiencing Zoom fatigue. With a hybrid style, it means you are going to have employees both virtually and in person, so try to cut back your meeting times to be brief and efficient rather than lengthy and boring. One way to combat Zoom fatigue is to stipulate that some meetings are dial-in only or video off meetings. This not only sets expectations, but also allows your team members to step away from the computer. Before the pandemic, I used to dial into most of my calls whilst on the move. I just loved it. The ability to walk around, listening, but be able to keep active was great. But since the pandemic made video calls the norm, I've become much less mobile during the day. And I hate it. In fact, I think actually not long into the pandemic, I got to 6 o'clock in the evening and I realized I had done, or the watch told me I had done 636 steps. That was truly, truly staggering. So I made sure I got off my arse and did some exercise. But sorry, I digress. It was so bad that I bought myself a wireless headset to be able to walk around and being able to be part of meetings, but it also just means that you can stay engaged. I've also made some key meetings dial-in only, so there is also no expectation of having to be seen on screen, because there's nothing worse than some being on screen and some not being on screen, and do I dial in, do I not dial in, all that sort of nonsense. So just be clear. Now, number 4 is about listen properly. As a trained life coach, I know the importance of listening. It's a skill that we're taught early on, and to give it its correct title, it's all about active listening. This is about looking for non-verbal cues and hearing what's not really being said, and properly paying attention to the person speaking to you. I know that many leaders and managers would argue that they listen, but this is nonsense. They are probably, unfortunately to say, more focused on answering the Slack messages that just come in on the screen whilst you're talking, or trying to send off an email, or just work on something in the background. This doesn't make it right, but I know it happens. You could see your colleague focusing on something else and you lose the conversation. It's easy to do, but wrong. Please don't let it be you. When you are talking to your team members, especially on one-to-ones, put yourself on Do Not Disturb. Give your team your full attention. They will appreciate it. As a leader, you need to genuinely listen to your employees. Some will be easier to do than others, but by showing you are genuinely paying attention to their requests, this will ultimately pay dividends in the future. It just shows you care. Because number 5 is about let's connect. This is an easy one to do, and it doesn't need you to be a leader. In fact, I think most leaders don't do it enough. By reaching out to your colleagues or team members, you can remind them that you, A, are interested in them, and B, care. Some of this is very intangible and not often aligned to leadership, but who gives a shit? The world of business has changed forever, so why shouldn't leaders change too? I firmly believe in treating others as I would like to be treated, so this is what I do. It doesn't matter if you are the CEO or the cleaner. I will say hello and I will ask how you are. In fact, so much so that I'm learning Spanish after getting to know the cleaner who looks after our floor in the office. I'm not very good, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's a great way to build rapport with everybody. The same goes for your employees. Just ask how they are or if there's anything they need from you. This may sound trivial, but it's a great way to show that you are empowering them. It shows that you expect your team to manage you, i.e. manage upwards, and the more you can build connections, the better the working relationship. Without being able to pop your head round the boss's door, this is the next best thing. If an employee pings you over Teams and says, "Do you have a minute as I need to run something past you?" This is a win. What you get told might not be a win, but the act of feeling comfortable in saying this definitely is. Connecting with employees is going to highlight your desire to help them feel at ease and feel like they have someone that they can turn to for anything as well. And that is a good thing. Connections, especially when virtual and in person, are becoming more and more important. Now, number 6 is you. My personal approach is that someone has my trust until they erode it. Then all bets are off. By the way, this title is about trust. So with my teams working remotely, there may be an innate desire to want to micromanage, but please don't, under any circumstances. If you find yourself in a situation where this is happening, check out this link here where I talk about how to deal with a micromanager without getting fired. Could come in quite useful. By adopting a micromanaging approach, this hurts the work culture and in turn puts you on the back foot. You won't do it when you are working from home, so why do it when you're in the office? Give team members enough rope to succeed, but also enough to hang themselves. It's a crude but effective way of saying you need to trust your teams. It won't always work out, but it is much better than micromanaging, which is probably going to end up with people leaving. So I wouldn't go down that route. Now, number 7 is go big on the small stuff. This last year has been a rough one, both for employees and managers. No one had it easy. In fact, I would go as far to say the last 24 months have been properly shit. Because of this, it's essential to take the time to celebrate small accomplishments. I know for a fact that we Brits, I know, are not great at self-proclaiming at the best of times, but this is something we need to get better at, especially when hybrid working. When something goes well, make a fuss. It doesn't have to be work-related. It could be personal, such as a birthday or an engagement, or the new arrival of a new family member. Whatever it is, take the time to show your appreciation by celebrating the small things. This is also a time to be open and share your whole self with your teams. You could show them, even as a leader, you are human too. And number 8 is adapt, adapt, adapt. From the programs to the equipment, leaders need to adapt to managing a hybrid team. This is going to be a learning curve. This is probably going to be a steep one too if you're doing this for the first time. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, but only if it doesn't last too long. You've been given this opportunity, so grasp it and show everyone what you are capable of. Yes, there are going to be uncomfortable moments, such as times when you get it wrong, but there's also going to be times when you get it right. The best thing you can do here is accept you don't know all the answers and remain open-minded. If you have a growth mindset, then you're in the best possible position. Stay committed to being a lifelong learning tool and you won't go too far wrong. Being adaptable and flexing to a situation is a skill leaders need to have to be successful. It might not happen the first time, but take your time to reflect and see what you can do next time around if it doesn't go according to plan. Now, number 9 is around reinforcing the organization's values. The employees returning to work may feel defeated. They may struggle with a transition regardless of what they're feeling. I mean, going from full workplace to full remote to a bit of hybrid can feel quite unsettling. Thus, it is essential to boost morale as a leader. One way of doing this is to highlight both your goal to facilitate the transition back to the office and the organization's appreciation of their work and dedication. And this is going to invigorate them and reinforce your role as a leader during the times which may be challenging ahead. Reminding your teams of what you're working towards, irrespective of whether you're in the office or not, is important as these are big goals. This is the team's purpose. Now, I know hugs and kisses don't pay mortgages, so there is always an element of working for a paycheck, but have a purpose. But having a purpose is a serious motivator. The company will be purpose-driven, and so should your teams. To manage a hybrid team, there is going to be a need for patience and time for both sides. You will need to be open in your communication style. You will need to give trust. Typically, leaders can have the doors open and an employee walks in and takes a seat. Now it's a bit different, but that's okay. Things will settle and suddenly those once vacant office chairs are going to be filled with your hybrid team members who have embraced this new work style and love you for the leader that you are. Might not always happen overnight, but I promise you, taking on board these 9 tips will stand you in great stead to becoming an excellent leader of hybrid teams. And that's it. If you like this video, I would highly recommend this one here, where I talk about how to avoid FOMO when working from home. It may not happen to you, but I would rather you know how to avoid it and never need it than it happens and think, what the fuck do I do? But with that, have a great day. Go and be a great hybrid leader, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.